You're live.
We're live, we're live. Well, Mr. Sinclair, we're gonna do something a little different tonight, huh?
Sure.
We're gonna go back to the best. I'm gonna introduce you, if you haven't already, not saying you haven't, but the real master dog trainer. I love that. People, I don't know what it takes to earn that title or who passes it out, but I love seeing everybody that are master dog trainers. So, did you ever stop to think about how wolves raise their pups? I mean, I'm gonna put it this way: if you go to any wolf den anywhere around the world, when these pups have quit nursing and they're eating solid food, it takes about 2 or 3 days for the solid food to turn into poop. And if you go into that den, you won't smell a thing. So these wolf pups are housebroken, so to speak, den broken, whatever you want to say. They're going outside and going to the bathroom when they are 6 weeks old, housebroken. The number one call I get from grown-ups, if you read the little notice, adult human beings with an adult brain, is, I need help housebreaking my puppy. I can't housebreak my puppy. And I'll always ask, how old is your puppy? And they'll say, oh, maybe 2.
2 years?
Years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so to which I can only think, I hope they're changing their carpet out pretty regular.
Damn.
So humans can't do with a puppy in 2 years what a mama wolf does with a 6-week-old puppy in 4 days. Think about it. Then you have the other things. How do they know? Now, instincts have a lot to do with their hunting ability. But how do they know? Why do they start chasing things? And how do they know that's a good thing to do? And why is it encouraged? And how does one pup getting weaned tell all the other pups that it's time to quit eating from the soda fountain as well? So I'm going to go into a few things. These are observations I've made. They weren't no scientists. You know, for those of you who haven't heard my philosophy on scientists, I'm going to hog some of this from Scott till I throw it at him about his. I want to hear how he raised his dog, his last puppy. But, you know, scientists and behaviorists, we need to listen to these folks because that's all they do is their job, right? They get up, they go to work at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, and they study dogs in this section and lab rats in that section and this dog in that section and the other dog in this section. And then they go home at 5 o'clock and feed their goldfish because they ain't got a dog in their life, you know? So these are observations from someone who's just never not had a dog within arm's reach in a 24-hour period. Just things I noticed. So what you have with mama dogs, or wolves, is, let's take the weaning, for example. This is the one place where there might be a physical correction. Little puppy crawls up to the soda fountain, and his little milk teeth have come in, and he snatches on. Yeah. And mama dog goes, arr, and she'll pin him to the ground. And to us, it looks, you know, well, let's put it this way: if we were PETA members, we'd want all mama dogs killed because they're cruel.
Right.
But they pin them to the ground, and they do a little with their mouth. They don't ever really even bite them. But what I learned from that is real simple. First off, dogs correct with one syllable. Because mama dog doesn't go, don't get on the couch, stay off of the shoes, don't do, no, one syllable.
Boom.
Boom. And then that one syllable is followed by a physical indication that's uncomfortable, not painful. It scares the bejesus out of those puppies, but it's uncomfortable. Okay? And it's a chink, 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 which is sort of the action that a only Hermspringer prong collar may have. Thank you, yeah. Because of this little, go ahead and hook it up. because of this little plate in the middle, right there. When you pull it tight, you see how watch the action here.
Can't do nothing with it.
You see how all the sides of those prongs straighten up, and they straighten out, and they poke them just
Yep,
like a
like
mother
that,
dog's
and you-
bite. Now, if this little square wasn't there and all those prongs ran in the same
It
direction,
would just squeeze.
it would just, it
Squeeze
wouldn't even
it.
squeeze, Scott. It would pull up,
It'd pull up, yeah. And
pull
cut.
up under their throat just like a choke
Yeah.
chain.
But there's no action there.
There's no action.
Here,
Also, the other prongs that they have put, when all the prongs are going the same way, that's an unnatural feeling because it's pulling it all
now look,
like one.
they're going different directions in the prongs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's see, that's the secret. But they're not going all the way, because when they go all the way, they just kind of go like dominoes falling.
Yeah.
And they all pull up under the trachea, under the neck.
And choke the dog out.
Chokes the dog out. That's why we call the ones without prongs choke chains. So that's the secret. What that Mr. Springer was so wise is realize that mama dogs correct those wolves by pump, pump, pump. So this emulates that. That's as close as you can come to correcting a dog like a mama dog and not get hair in your mouth. Put it that way.
Right.
So, what about teaching them that's the correction. What does the wolf do to teach new things? Like the mama dog will start, if you look at that thumbnail I put up, teaching them to howl. When they all join in, she uses her body heat. If they're coming when she calls, they don't just come and she goes, let's go somewhere. When she calls those pups to her, they are always greeted with her body rubbing up against them. There's always snuggling for, I don't know what other word to use for it. Pure body heat. Just physical touch. Now, what does our physical touch do for a dog? One of the studies done years and years ago in England, I think it was at Crufts, they had volunteers come in with their dogs. There was 40 or 50 dogs in this little test, and they hooked the dogs up to respirators, blood pressure, heartbeat monitors, all these things, and then they would also measure oxytocin and endorphins that are released by drawing blood. And they worked on three things: physical treats, for rewards, petting or soothing the dog, and the human voice for commands. Now, if I asked you to guess which one excited the dog most, which would you say?
Petting the dog?
You would, because you know better. Yes, petting, physical touch. Actually, it's sort of almost a tie. It varied. The two top, we'll put it this way, 'cause remember this was
The food and the touch.
There you go. Both run the respiration as high, both kicked in more oxytocin or endorphins, I forget which one excites you. Both picked up the heart rate a little bit. Here's the difference. The food would excite the dog quick. Not much faster, but if they got excited in 0.4 seconds at the smell of food, they would get excited at your touch in a second and a half. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, like a mama wolf regurgitates food for the pups and they all get excited.
Mm-hmm.
When you feed them, when you use a treat, you get your dog's total attention. When you pet your dog, you get their dog's total attention. Well, there's a good example right there. Is she going anywhere?
No,
Can you see that, Carol Ann?
probably not.
Got her ears up, and the world is bliss at this moment. Because Daddy's touching her. And if we could check her heart rate right now, if we had the monitors, we find that her heartbeat rate was a little higher, while her blood pressure was a little bit lower. Now,
It relaxes them to a point.
yeah,
Feeling of safety.
Yeah. And if you go from stroking your dog quietly, he's just brought you back the dumbbell you've been trying to get him to retrieve for 14 training sessions. Instead of taking and going, good boy, if you'll take your same touch and pat him, hey, good boy, you did great, and use your voice tones, now you'll check and see the heart rate's up and the blood pressure rate's up, because that excites them. So a lot of rewards and a lot of communication can be given to our dogs.
Just by touch.
Yep.
Yep.
Just follow it that
Just
way.
touch.
Yeah.
That's why we don't, when we're training out there, we don't encourage petting. It's patting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a difference.
There is a difference.
Because you don't want to soothe the dog. You want to get him excited, and you did a great job.
He's talking about when we're doing bite work, of course. So these are the little subtle things that a wolf mother does. When I looked at over time and years, as I watched, and as conservationists are trying to save wolves now, and this the only country that ever wiped out the wolf population, I started putting two and two together, because what happens is, at some point, the pups are being rowdy and they're getting in the way. A male wolf, or a male dog, they don't do puppies.
Right.
Little pups come running up and crawling all over them, and they're gonna go. Arr, 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 arr. As they get older, at about 8, depending on the breed. Well, again, I can't say on wolves, but on pups, depending on the breed, at anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks, the male dogs go from "get away from me, you bother me, son," to "come on, let's go do something and we'll play." Play is the #1 form of training that Mother Nature invented. So I sort of put it, and I found a formula for it. The mother wolf takes time to teach pups good behavior. Oh, bad behavior. Too late for nursing solid food. Okay. So these things are taught without intimidation, with as much reward as possible. Here, let me hold you in my little, up to my warm body. And then at a certain age, Papa Dog, they're big enough not to be a nuisance crawling all over them, and he starts taking them on little hunting trips. And they learn about tracking, and they learn about trailing, and they learn about all the things, what to listen for. They do this by following the male wolf. So there's where I came up with my closest thing I can come to following, "Hello baby, how are you?" Following, I call it the 3 T's. I've never heard anyone else say this. We get our dogs and we want to put our puppy in training, right? You got puppy training. If they get a little bit older, we want to do obedience training, right? What does a wolf do? First, the mother teaches them the behaviors that they need to not be swallowed by the male wolf. Then, after she teaches the correct behaviors and teaches them to pay attention when she barks, then Daddy takes over, and that's when the training starts. They go out and get in their reps on a hunt. So, if we as humans will start spending time in the beginning training our dogs or our pups, whatever. That's why around here we don't use leashes or collars at all when we're starting to train any of our dogs. We put them through the motions that we want them to follow, and then we reward them with either or. Good boy, here's a treat, whatever. It's the same thing. But you can take, my pups typically, Bits, who I for some reason never have in here, and I should. Scott will tell you, I had a pup before everybody knew she was just, Bart's daughter that I was going to keep. And was she 5 months old, 4 months old?
Yeah, 4.5, close to 5 months. Yeah.
Scott hollered at me on one Saturday morning we were training and said, "Why don't you ever get Bits out here?" And I said, "Okay," not wanting to tell him anything. And we got her out, Went and brought her out, and how'd she do, Scott? What did she do? We're doing bite work, by the way.
Yeah,
4.5 months old.
So 3 rounds, flirt pull, 2nd round tug, 3rd round, she's on the sleeve. And for shits and giggles, we send her and we caught her. She did great, first time out.
Because I had been doing all of these commands in a play game format with her since she was 8 to 10 weeks old.
Yeah, she was pretty good.
Yeah, she was. I was proud of her.
Yeah, she did great.
One of these days, we ever get our video set up, we got video of it. I know I was a proud papa, so I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut about it. That's why I asked Scott to say so. But you literally, I taught her every word I wanted her to know, every action I wanted her to take when she heard the word. And then at 5 or 6 months of age, we started training. And training led to some corrections. She wouldn't out just as quick as I thought she should, which she outed at 5 months old. She knew exactly what it meant.
Yep.
But she'd get excited and she'd take a little longer than I thought she should, and I'd have to do a correction. Mind you, a correction is used in this country many times, would be more accurately, I believe, described as punishment. A correction is used to show a human or a dog or a horse or whatever a change in their actions to something more successful for them or more required by you. Punishment has nothing to do with changing behavior. Punishment is done to stop behaviors. Look it up. And from what I've seen, a lot of so-called corrections are punishments.
Yeah.
You know, if your correction doesn't show a dog, and sometimes a correction is needed just to clear their head, and you may have to, hit them with a little tap of the e-collar, or you may have to give a little pop with the prong collar.
Refocus them.
Yeah, to refocus. It's not the same thing. There's no such thing as one method does it all.
Mm-mm.
Just with rules, they divide it up between the mother getting them started and doing the teaching, and then Papa taking them out and doing the training. And like I said, I see and the reason I'm talking, all right, so these wolf biologists, David Meck and those types of people, they've gone around the world and documented wolves in not Siberia, well, maybe Siberia. I hadn't thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
But Germany, Italy, all over the world. There have been instances where they'll think the mother wolf has left the den, and they'll go to grab the pups and start tagging them, put the pups back in the den, and they say, it's always clean. It's always clean. I mean, they're crawling in there, going as fast as they can, and it's always clean. So when we say that mama dog a wolf is housebreaking her pups at 8 to 10 weeks old, and you can't do it with a 8 to 10 month old, something ain't right. Call me. That's what we do. We'll show you how to do it wolf style.
Well, it's true. You got to start them. You got to be on top of it when they're pups.
Yeah.
What's the mother dog do?
What's the mother dog doing?
She'll scruff them, right?
Yeah.
So what do? You don't stick their nose in it. You show them. And this whole theory about, you didn't catch them in the act, you don't do nothing. No. What? What do you want? They know. What? They know. I don't care if it's an hour later. They know what they've done wrong.
Right.
Bring them over. Scrub. Out the door you go.
Yep.
Because they know what they've done.
Right.
So all these rumors out, they don't know if you don't catch them in the act, you can't do nothing. Well, then you're enabling the dog to keep doing it.
Exactly.
So.
And I'll spare everybody my Michelob story about how I figured that out, but dogs remember. I mean, we're expecting our dog to go out and find a lost kid who's been gone for 5 days, Our lost pet's been gone for 48 hours, and yet the scientists, remember, these boys go home at 5 o'clock and feed their goldfish. They've never had a dog in their house. They're going to tell you that this dog cannot remember that an hour ago that his poop was put right there on your deal. Come on, think about it, folks. It's just, it ain't something.
I mean, I had a spot on the counter where I put some cake. And the dog got the cake. The dog walks by to this day. That was 2 years ago. And we'll look up there for cake. He remembers there was cake there.
That's right.
Oh, a year later, 2 years later.
Yeah.
I said, don't tell me.
Almost the whole cake.
There you go.
He ate Tres Leche cake.
Oh, 3 meals, huh?
Yeah, that
Well, I'm just saying
hilarious.
that they'll mark, they remember,
Yeah, heck yeah.
you know.
Every time there's a box or something there, he'll go and see.
Go back to that. And there's a great point. 3 years later, this dog remembers something good he got in that corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rest my case. And that's how you teach and train. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And then you apply correction when it helps the dog learn a new behavior better.
And mark it. Mark the behavior.
Mark the behavior.
Good job. Right.
Yeah. So, anybody got a question they can save us with here? We're running out of things to repeat.
No. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Like, I get this asked a lot. Well, how long is it going to take me to get my dog from pottying in the house? How many times I got to do that? What's your answer?
If you're doing it right, 3 times maybe. If you're doing it right.
And what's a proper correction?
The proper correction, first off,
I told you.
well, is you're going to scruff that pup. You're going to take him back to
No, they don't know what a scruff is.
Oh,
What's a scruff?
sorry. First, you're going to take them back to the scene of the crime. Scruffing, this is if you don't have the prong collar. Scruffing simply means, again, the neck is where dogs get communicated. You can grab the loose skin on that pup's neck,
On the back of the head,
back of the head.
over here.
Mm-hmm. Pull it up tight and just say the word. If you go, no, don't you do that anymore, your pup's going to go, holy shit, what's going on around here, okay? Corrections are never done with excitement. They're a correction. You just pull it up tight, you make eye contact, look, and he'll look at you like, what? You'll see the look on their face when you suddenly do that. It's like, oh my gosh. He'll look at you straight up and you just go, no. Give it a firm shake. Take him immediately to the back door. That's how you marked the behavior. That was your correction. But he did something negative, so we're also going to have to, or will help usually, to throw in a punishment. What are we going to do for punishment? We're going to take him outside in the backyard. I know that's a strange thing to hear for a lot of people these days, but are somewhere isolated. Close the door, leave him by himself for 15 minutes.
Now, what if they don't got a backyard?
If you've got a laundry room, if you have to put them in their crate, put them in there, but better a laundry room, a spare room, whatever, somewhere where they are isolated. There's nothing on the planet more scary to a puppy than being by themselves. That just rocks their boat till it capsizes. So if you have to do it a second time, you can raise the severity of the scruffing. The first time you grabbed his little loose skin and you pulled it up and you made always make eye contact. That's how wolves communicate. Pull it up, look him in the eye, and he still came back and did it. So the next time you go, you grab the loose skin on his neck, and then you take your thumbnail and you drive it in there, just to remind him that you may not have the teeth his mama dog's got, but you still got a bite. Drive it in there, shake it.
So if he squeals, that doesn't mean you're hurting the dog. It means you're doing it correctly.
It means you're doing it correctly.
Okay.
You get a squeal, you probably, that's in Doglish, that's probably the same as yes ma'am. I got it. I got figured it out. Okay? And this is where most people that I tell them about housebreaking go wrong. They don't. Well, I didn't want to hurt him. You ain't hurting the beast.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to love you any less.
That's right.
They know where their bread and butter is and who feeds them.
That's right.
Hey,
So this.
hey, come here.
And everything you're doing about this is amazing.
I see.
The biggest thing to corrections is keeping your voice calm. And that's what men especially are terrible at, you know?
They
Yeah.
do that a lot in training.
They, oh, yeah. Oh, the military. Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes.
the dog looks and I'm like, what did I do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's like, they feel like you're correcting them.
And I know years past, I can't speak to it now because I haven't been around it in 20 years. But before the military, Air Force at Lackland hired Dr. Stuart Hilliard, who's probably the most knowledgeable dog person in this country, to go down there and run their program. When they started someone who wanted to be a canine handler, I knew the first 2 or 3 days were spent teaching them to say, "Good boy, down," and they did it all like drill sergeants. All of it. All that does is either intimidate or excite the dog. Either way, it fogs his brain where he can't
What
hear
was
you.
that study that I was thinking about? One where we did the training, they did the shot collar and the raw voice, and the dogs, the way that we trained or the way that we do, responded quicker with when we said sit.
Oh, you're talking about
What
the
was that?
police officer that came out here when Thomas was here
Yeah.
from Denmark.
Yes.
Okay, so Thomas Raven, probably the most accomplished modern day trainer internationally, that I at least know of. He and I did seminars together, and he come over here. We did several for police departments. We had, and it would be on like drug detection, tracking things of a real high nature. But in between, people wanted to come out with their dogs, and we would ask if they had any other problems. So we had this one officer who he used an e-collar. Nothing wrong with that. If you're doing it right, there's nothing wrong with any of these things. And he says this dog won't recall unless I got an e-collar on. So I'm so yeah. And the guy says, no, he won't. He says, okay. So he brings him out here to this training yard right here where we're at. Takes the collar. Tom says, take your collar off. We lose the collar. He says, let him go. He's a pretty good sized Mal, and he's checking out everything, being very Mal-like, just looking up trees, wondering if there's a squirrel, picking up the scent of a cat, and all this other. I know he's a shepherd. Picking up all these scents, and he gets to the back of the fence line where there's a highway going by with a lot of cars to distract, a lot of noise, and it's about 40 yards from the front gate to the back end. When he gets down there and he gets into other stuff, sniffing, Thomas turns to the officer and says, call your dog. And he quite wisely looks at Thomas and says, he won't come. And Thomas said, call your dog. So he goes into perfect drill sergeant mode and he goes, Fido, here! Fido keeps sniffing. 3 times. Fido, here! Dog totally ignores him. Thomas said, okay. Go get your dog. So he goes up and he gets him. Of course, first thing he does, he doesn't have his e-collar, so he puts his leash on. Oh, here. I sure want to hear that word again. So the dog comes back. Thomas comes back to the gate, tells the officer, okay. Thomas puts his leash on the dog. Tells the officer, just go sit in your car. I'll call you when we're ready. So he goes in there, and Thomas and I start, as he calls them sausages, with my little hot dog treats. He starts teaching the dog what they call a discipline recall. It means when I call you, you don't just come to my vicinity. You come and you sit in a specific place, and you wait for me to reattach a leash. So we're doing front. That's the English word that I use for it. Front, stepping back, giving a treat. Front, stepping back. We spent 15, 20 minutes. Let the dog wander off a little bit. A little pressure on the collar. Front. Boy, here you come. Sit. Wander off. A little pressure on the leash. Front. Here you come and sit. After a certain period of time left, Thomas, so I go get the officer, and Thomas says, okay, pet your dog, have a reunion. Takes the leash off. Dog starts wandering around, checking out stuff. It's all the way to the back of the fence where he had been. And Thomas, who's got a very soft voice anyway, just raises his volume, not his tone, his volume just a little bit, and he goes, Fido, here, because he's with an accent, of course. When Fido first heard his name, Thomas waited until he saw the dog pick his head up from the scent and look at him. Because when you call your dog and he's all involved in whatever he's smelling, it's like telling your husband in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl with his team 2 yards away from the winning touchdown, and you walk in there and say, honey, can you take out the trash? What's he going to do? He's going to turn up the volume as he tells you, yes, ma'am. Same thing if your dog's not looking at you, he's going to get... So Thomas waited a second and said again, Fido. And this time Fido heard him, and he just glanced back over his shoulder, and Thomas said, front. Or did he hear? I forget which command he used. But the dog looked at him, yes, sir. Come running, planted his fanny right in front of him. I could have looked over at that police officer and gone, and would have blown him over.
I got a question.
Okay.
Is the same method used for an older dog rescue who hasn't been properly housebroken? Can we use the same method with the scruffing?
Definitely. Definitely.
Potty training?
Everything is going to apply. And only thing is, he's a little older. It may take more. It might be more efficient. Like if the accident's occurring while you're gone, before you leave the house, put the prong collar on it. And when you come back and you finally say, Fido, come here. Take your leash, just clip it on that and go, no, pop, 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 pop. That's if he's an older dog. It might be a little more effective than scruffing. But any communication that's done around the neck is going to be remembered by the dog. So,
Yes.
what do you think, Miss Carol Ann?
I think it's wonderful because I have 2 Dobermans that like to mess with my cats. And when I'm in the room, this is how smart they are. They do not go by the cats at all. They wait till I leave. Because they know I'm going to scruff them or do whatever. There's perfect angels till I leave the room. And then I hear Traveler tells on them.
That's the Western Shepherd.
Traveler will start barking because she's telling, oh, you're going to be in trouble, you need to get away. Because they know I'm going to come around that corner, right? She tells on them. She starts to bark. They move. I said, good job, Traveler.
Crazy.
But they're smart. They think. It's crazy. It's like one will do one thing and the other's going to distract so that they can get something. That is how
Pack
they
mentality.
work.
Yeah.
They all 3 do that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm in trouble.
Think about, now what all does a wolf pack have to learn? Well, how about if you're up north? Scott can attest to this. I've only seen 2 in my life in person. But a moose is a big, big cow. I'm talking about walk under his belly, big cow.
I'm talking they
Pull
take
them
over
out.
the road. You can't go. You got to wait till they move.
Yeah. So these wolf packs get together. Now they'll go for the sicker, older one, granted, but
It's still a fight.
it's still a fight. And they will literally, they have positions that they take. One goes for the back legs, one goes for the jugular, one goes for the front leg, how to distract. That ain't done by accident, folks.
Mm-hmm.
That's thought out and planned. That's a strategy to bring down a beast that weighs 10 times more than the whole pack.
Yep. They just know.
So,
Like you said, dogs, they know what to do. We just got to bring out what we want out of them.
yeah. Mr. Johnson, I'll leave y'all with this thought. Mr. Johnson, the man who I didn't realize at the time when I was a kid scooping poop behind his coon house. Like he used to, this is a man, he had hog dogs. His biggest thing in the world was coon hunting. And he had two Catahoula cur dogs that when the ranchers had trouble getting their cattle out of the swamps at calving time, he'd go in there and use them herding dogs to bring the cows out. So he's pretty all around. He's nothing but a dog man. And he told me at that point, I was 12 years old, 13. He said, just don't remember. I'd ask him once in a while. He said, just remember this. Dogs are born wanting nothing more than to please a man. You just give them that opportunity, and they'll do whatever you ask for the rest of their lives. So, I forgot Mr. Johnson's words. I got a lot of his words come back to my mind when I opened my guard dog company and realized I either got to get smarter, stay in the hospital a lot, but man's never been wrong yet.
Yep.
So, what thanks, Scott?
Don't keep. Now you have the tools to keep a clean house. Always remember, it's all about the dogs.
Even when they're jumping on you.
Even when they're jumping on you. We'll see you guys next time.